All right, so one of the things, let's tell a little backdrop to the story about everything that's going on here. So let's go back first to 18, 19 months ago, almost 2 years ago, come September. I was arrested and charged with two felonies, and so I've been dealing with that since 2024. So September 2024 that happened, and the case was resolved in February. So February was when I got sick and everything like that too. But the case was resolved in February. Where I was given 2 years probation and no jail time and things like that. So that's going on too. You know, and then I got the flu and everything, and then this happened, and so even more background noise to the situation is the day this happened, I would happen to be at the courthouse, going through how to fill out divorce papers class. And so that happened, that day. And the reason being is just some things going on in the house that I just couldn't deal with anymore, and that's probably why I had the clots anyways. It was probably a little bit deal with stress, a little bit the flu, but there's a lot of things going on, and so, you know, and one of the things going on was a lot of noise in the house. We have dogs, and they was barking a lot, and I was the only one trying to control the dogs. Nobody in the house was trying to control the dogs. My people were upset that I was trying to control the dogs, and they wouldn't help me. I wasn't sleeping at night because I had to get up at 12 o'clock to let the dogs out. I have to get up at 2 o'clock to let the dogs out, 6 o'clock. So I wasn't even sleeping, and nobody else in the family would help take care of these animals and stuff like that. Then we're dealing with other things like, we got cats in the house, and everything. And the cats are, pooping over the house. Nobody seems to care, so just a lot of stress within the household, and so some other things going on. I had an incident with my daughter where I had to call the police on her. So just a lot of stuff going on. And then all of a sudden this happens and everything like that, And so even surviving this and everything, one of the things that, you look at is when I got home, my sister and my brother-in-law picked me up from the hospital and brought me to the house. And when I got to the house, nobody in the house greeted me. Nothing. Nothing. No, hey, nothing at all. It's like business as usual. So blood pressure was sky high, pulse was sky high, even to the point of where when I first got home, I couldn't, you know, lay down. I had to sit up, and my wife and I, we didn't share rooms anyways, but I didn't have something to sit up on. And so, one of the things that, I asked her to sleep in her room, and she was like, no, you know, I asked her to make me a sandwich one day. I mean, it was just the stress level sky high still, And even with the dogs, they still wouldn't take care of the dogs and things like that. I had my own area of the house, which I didn't let the dogs in, But at the same time, we had the dogs. We got, we got four dogs, too many dogs. And so with one dog, they would take one dog out and leave the other two inside. And the other two inside are barking and screaming because they want to go outside. So I asked nicely, like, hey, if you take one out, take them all out, because I got things. I'm trying to rest up over here. I'm trying to work over here, and so and this is, like I said, this is post incident too, and so it just wasn't happening, and so I finally end up, leaving, going on, just trying to get away, get some respite, and everything like that, and so I came down to my mom's house, and sure enough, blood pressure drops, heart rate drops, started sleeping, because it's quiet down here and stuff like that, and a lot of things were going on where I had to worry, I got a 17-year-old daughter that's driving around on, with no gas in the car. And she doesn't get it, like it's gonna run out of gas, and then, I got a wife that's not giving her gas money, and everything. Just so it was also this thing, and I can't be around stuff like that where I got to take care of them, and they don't, I just couldn't take care of them anymore. It was just too much and stuff like that to always be on the lookout for them, and I really had to start looking out for myself and everything. So I had to get out of that situation, temporarily and everything like that. So that's a lot of, some other background information, but like I said, if you look at, I had to get a heart rate monitor and stuff, and so um, one of the things that, heart rate variability, your mind's up there, it was in like the 19s, since down here it's up to 36. Breathing rate per minute was like 22, now it's down to 15. Pulse, would never drop below 73. Now it's dropped down to 62, at 58, I think, at one point in time. And even like when sleeping, heart rate never dropped below 73. Now it's down to, 64. Since so just a whole lot of stress, that I didn't realize was under. So you add the family stress, the court stress, and all these other things going on, and that's probably what caused some of these problems too. And so now part of that is just dealing with the aspect, from a mental aspect of feeling like you're dealing with this stuff by yourself, and I'm not really, because I got a lot of friends, I got a lot of support. That's one part too, is you find out like who really is there to support you, and so in this process of, I found out a lot about who's really there to support me and everything like that. People that didn't have my number found my number to just check in on me and stuff like that, so that feels good and everything like that, and whatnot. And then you get every now and then you get a random text message from somebody saying, hey, I'm just checking in on you, so that's all cool stuff, and you kind of let the other stuff about who didn't contact you, you let that go. You're only working on the positive stuff to try and stay, mentally focused and everything. So that's a little background information and everything about what's happening or what was happening and stuff, so yeah. So now you kind of have a picture of some other stuff that's going on that, like I said, the rehabilitation from death, and part of that too is the rehab mentally. Not just the physical portion, but the mental portion. Just address some of these things. Like I said, I have to address watching TV shows and things like that. And still addressing the. It's hard to realize you just went through this traumatic event, and you come home and nobody, like it's really. I mean, you talking about I got kids. I got 3 kids. A 17-year-old, a 20-year-old, and a 22-year-old. I got 3 kids plus a wife. None of them. And so you have to deal with that. That hits hard and stuff like that. But you got to move forward and everything. So anyways, little background information. Have a good day.